Chris and Dan show. What is up with you guys, ladies and gentlemen? We are still here. Myself and Chris, we're bringing on new guests. We might throw in something fun too, Dr. Charles, at the end, but we won't ruin it yet, but we'll throw something fun. Chris already knows. Chris already knows what I'm gonna do, at least I
Mm,
think. We'll throw something fun, right, Chris? You do?
absolutely.
Okay, Chris is on it today. So we've got Dr. Charles Livingston. I guess I'll preface this with the Chris and Dan show. We're expanding, guys. We're now funding the Dr. Joe show, where it's me and Dr. Joe. Sometimes Chris joins on Zoom to go in depth. I mean, man, we just did an hour and a half on coenzyme Q10. Like
Oh,
Dr.
wow.
Joe Elite can go deep on all kinds of topics. So the next video will be about testosterone and the real pandemic in this nation, which is low testosterone. Um, and how we're killing our hormones, both males and females. And I won't spoil it too much, nor risk getting canceled anymore. But Dr. Charles Livingston, I got introduced to him through Dr. Joe, who brought me his Life Boost probiotic coffee, and we're gonna get the actual name of it from Dr. Livingston. But honestly, guys, I'm not even bullshitting. Like, it's the best coffee cold brew I've had. And Chris, you got to try some. Chris is
And
not really into cold brew though. That's the problem. We got to convert him first. All right, but it's the best cold brew I've had. I can make it myself. On top of that, Dr. Joe says it's good for you. And Dr. Joe, I mean, I trust him. I work with him on a daily basis at the office. He says it's good for your microbiome. Now, we got some microbiome experts as well, Dr. Hazen. We might get her on the show, have her try some. But Dr. Charles, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you for making such a good product.
Hey, no problem, Dan. It's great to meet you and Chris and be on here with you.
So let's get into your background. All right, Chris,
wait,
go
wait,
ahead, man.
I got a question. So, in regards to the health benefits to your cold brew, well, first off, because I'm not real familiar with coffee, I'm new to coffee.
Okay.
After 50 years of life, but nonetheless, cold brew is it in fact cold?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called cold brew because the method, instead of like putting it through the coffee pot, you literally soak the beans for 24, usually it's 12 to 24 hours, but Dan here likes to take it over the top and go 48 hours.
48. Yep.
And so that's how you brew it, is you literally soak it overnight.
So is this a specialized coffee machine that soaks it and then you set the timer when it starts brewing?
I mean, they're cold brew makers, but you could literally just use a mason jar if you wanted to.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
They sell them on Amazon. I'll send you the thing I use. It's like this pitcher with a little filter inside. You put the beans, the ground beans in the filter. You can nerd out on how coarse you want to grind them. The this Life Boost one already comes pre-ground, so it's already comes pre-ground. You just put it in the filter, screw in the cap, add filtered water, put it in your fridge, give it a good shake here and there. Every 12 hours I take it out and like shake it a little more and put it back, and it comes out really strong, man. And then top it off, I put it in a nitro cold brew machine with nitrous oxide capsules and get that little foam top.
Okay, so to the health part of it. So a lot of people like their hot coffee in the morning, right? It activates certain body functions for some people. Is this true for the cold brew as well? Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. More or less potent in that regard. Because I would say like 30% of the people I speak to that drink coffee drink it in the morning and for that purpose.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I never notice a difference between hot and cold if it makes you go to the bathroom like more or faster. It definitely works both ways though.
So, okay. So the temperature of the coffee causes no variation as far as you know.
Yeah, not that I know. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, as far as I've experienced as well, no difference. I prefer cold brew because I'm in Arizona and most of the time it's hot and I feel like drinking something cold. But even in the winter now, I just like cold brew better. It just tastes better.
I'm the same way. I don't know why. I just fell in love with cold brew, and that's my preference.
Now, where are you at, Dr. Charles?
I'm in Indianapolis, a little north of Indianapolis. In the
I
county.
just wrapped up a podcast with someone from Indianapolis on my clinical research show.
Oh, cool.
Literally in Indianapolis. Guess what? I'm gonna send her the affiliate link and say, "Here's some coffee, Edie. You gotta buy some of this."
Small world.
So, how did you get started in this? Like, look, can we go through some of your background? Like,
Sure.
this is kind of cool.
So I'm a chiropractor by trade. Practiced for about 5 years. Then what happened is my buddy since kindergarten starting businesses online, and by the time I was out of chiropractic school, he was already a millionaire. So I was like, "What did you do?" You know, I'm $100,000 in debt coming out of school. He's already a millionaire. I'm like, all right. So I practiced for like 5 years and just watched him just accumulate more wealth and just make a huge impact. Like he became like a guru of like marketing. He just learned like SEO and created one of the first softwares that helped people with their SEO on their websites. And you know, he was loving what he was doing. He was able to travel and he worked from home. And you know, at the time, like I didn't know a lot about business and marketing. Typically in chiropractic school, basically it's like there's not a lot of business there. It's just like if you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah.
Not the case. You got to learn how to run a business and market and all that fun stuff. Because we don't have the luxury of, you know, going right into a hospital or anything like that.
Right.
So, you know, I practiced for 5 years and it was good. It was fun. I absolutely loved practicing. I hated the politics of medicine. I absolutely hated it. And that was really what kind of drove me out in the other way. One, it was just, you know, very stressful dealing with insurance companies and all that. And it's kind of how if you notice how it works, they kind of dictate the type of care that you provide to customers and your clients.
Yep.
So wasn't a fan of that. So I was looking for other ways to give back and provide value to the world. And, you know, I talked to him, and at that time I was really big into health and weight loss, and, you know, had, you know, at that point, hundreds of hours of research in nutrition and wellness and certifications and all that. And I just got really enamored by that stuff. And so I created a weight loss system online that did pretty well. And then from there, I iterated into a supplement company. So I got knee deep into supplements and learning, you know, all the ins and outs of that and all the goods and bads of that. And I created a supplement company that focused on liver health. And during that time, I had this small farm in Nicaragua who was taking my liver supplements. And they messaged me one day and was like, "Hey, you know, we love your supplements. We want to put it in our coffee." And I'm like, "It's a terrible idea. This is liver herbs. It would not taste good. It would be super bitter. Do not want to do that." I was like, but at this point, you know, Bulletproof Coffee was like a craze.
Yeah, with Ferris.
Yeah, with Dave Osprey and
Osprey, yeah,
and all those guys. And you know, I fell in love with that. I started really because up to that point, coffee was bad for you. You know, everybody that you talk to, coffee was not good for you. And then all of a sudden, you know, when Dave started doing the Bulletproof Coffee and really getting deeper into the science and stuff, I just started to fall in love with it. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that it's the #1 beverage in the United States, #3 in the world of things that people drink. And it's also the #1 antioxidant that people have, whether that's good or bad. Maybe they don't eat enough vegetables, I don't know. But that's, I mean, it is like the primary antioxidant that people get.
Cheers to that.
Life, yeah, right. And then you see all the research about how it helps with all types of, you know, it helps to prevent, you know, all types of diseases and issues that people have. And
prostate cancer is one big one. That's one of the reasons why I drink it. Prevent prostate cancer.
So coffee used to have a bad rep. It used to be considered bad for you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a good thing that I'm new to the game, because it's always been good as far as I know.
So that's how it started. They sent me some of their coffee. I was like, this is some of the best coffee I've ever had. And then at that time, being a health professional, very conscious of what I put in my body. And so for me, it's like,
Wait. So these guys from Nicaragua that were buying your supplements for livers were putting that into their coffee.
no, they wanted to, and
Oh,
I
they
was
wanted to.
Were they
told
coffee?
to it.
I'm sorry, were they coffee farmers? So they're
Yeah.
making a new. So were they essentially telling you we're going to make a new product and sell it locally? Is that essentially what they're telling you, or are they just for their own consumption?
I have no idea. My guess
Okay.
is that they probably wanted to market it. I was like, guys, it's not gonna taste good.
Sure.
But send me some of your coffee. So they did, and I fell in love with it. It was
Wow.
amazing. Then I started to write up criteria of what I would like to find in a coffee. Because being a health professional, it's one of those things where I have, being more on the alternative holistic side, an understanding of it's not like one single thing that takes your health down. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, right? So the
Mhm.
more little things you can eliminate or add to your life that's beneficial, better off you're going to be. And so my thought process was, people drink coffee every single day of their life, multiple cups. And being the third most drank beverage in the world, it's going to be highly sprayed. But that's the only way you can grow that much quantity. Is one, create a giant area of land and spray the heck out of the coffee with pesticides. And unfortunately, overseas, the regulations aren't as crystal clear and as good for when it comes to like coffee versus like foods. So that was a big concern with me, that, because you're literally just concentrating a cup of pesticides
Lovely.
times a day.
Paint a nice picture there.
That's
Yeah.
probably what you're drinking, Chris. What the heck, man?
Probably is. It's Folgers.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Charles, not to bash on Folgers, but like, just what do you think about this compared to yours?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my whole focus is the health aspect. So if it's created at mass quantity, like that, then it's a cash crop. Cash crops are sprayed heavily, and that's something that I personally want to eliminate from my life. I don't want all those chemicals. So we created a process that, we call it our Trust Pure process. It's a criteria of things like it needs to be organic or certified organic. It needs to be, elevation grown, because the higher the elevation, the less likely the mold can grow on the coffee. And, it's a whole
Mold is like a big thing, right? Mold in your
mold.
coffee
So
is a
even
big
if a
thing.
coffee is certified organic, it can still grow mold. So, and that's, anywhere in the process, right? Where it's the storing, whether it's, the processing, whether it's, as it's growing. So it's like watching, the whole process from farm to cup, making sure that there's no mold on it.
Where is the biggest risk for the mold? Is it like when you're growing the beans, or is it when it gets to the person's house and they're like making their own cold brew in their garage?
It's a good question. My guess is it could be the storage of it, right? So in between, holding the coffee beans, and then they store it for a period of time as green coffee. And if the warehouse gets damp or anything like that, it creates the environment for mold. That would be I don't know 100%. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. But so we test after that, right?
Or you test after?
Yeah.
And are you sourcing the same beans from these farmers in Nicaragua?
So we're too big now to get it from only one farm. So we have multiple farms across Nicaragua, that we get our coffees from. And yeah, I mean, now we're doing the same thing in Africa.
Wow.
Boost Africa. That's a newer line that we haven't really, it's getting started. It's not as popular as the other one yet.
Why? Why do you think?
Logistics. Part of it's just on our end, just logistics. We grew pretty fast, so we're just making sure that we don't implode.
I see. And how long have you been When did you start this company and
I
how long?
actually started this company in 2015.
Wow. So
I
you're beyond that hump of like most startups fail. You're
Yeah,
here. You're here
yeah.
now.
So we didn't start scaling until 2019. So I was running the supplement company, doing some other things. It was kind of a side project, a passion project. And then in 2019, a buddy that I was consulting for, I was doing his some of his marketing in his business, helping him out, and I gave him some of the coffee, and he fell in love with it. And he that time he was like, "Hey, I want to get back into e-commerce. I really like it. I think this product's incredible. I think we can really do something big with it." So we created a deal in 2019. We decided to go all in, and
Wow.
that's where the significant growth came from. It's just focus, right?
Sounds like Chris and Dan show. You found your version of Chris
Yeah.
Soccer.
Well, it also sounds like probably COVID helped too, to a degree, in terms of
I'm
more.
sure. I'm sure it did. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
part of the timing for sure.
yeah,
Working from home.
yep. More
Were
time
you
dedicated.
ever affected by those supply chains, the issues?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit. I mean, it messed up supply chain because we also like source mugs and different products like that as well. Some coffee accessories, and it messed up the supply chain all around. And so shipping is like five x. Uh,
Mm.
so in some of the logistics with the way the mail goes now, it's like it's much harder to, you
But
know,
your prices are still competitive. I mean, I go to Sprouts every now and then and look at, I'll still buy some, even their most expensive like organics, like $16 a bag.
yeah.
So you're right in that range, more or less.
Yeah, we're on the top end of that range. The way it's built is, being online, like shipping is insane to ship a single bag. So what we'll do is we'll do volume discounts because the savings we get on that we pass along to the customers. So typically when people buy, they'll buy three bags on average. Um, and in that way, everybody wins and saves, and it's also better for the environment, less packages being shipped. So what we're trying to be very conscious on, you know how we do things and sustainability, and making sure that you know we're trying whatever we can do to decrease the carbon footprint as well, which is like shipping single packages all over when you can literally buy bulk, and it would save on shipping so many packages, which decreases the carbon footprint, right?
So I'm going to help you try to sell some products. So, is there an expiration date on coffee?
Typically it's, I usually tell people, obviously the fresher the better, but I mean, like a year.
A year.
I mean, with coffee, if it's sealed tight, nitro sealed, or then it's
Which yours is, I assume.
yeah, yeah. Um, then it'll stay fresh for longer.
So people buy 3 bags on average, probably because that's what they consume in what, a month, 2 months, something like that.
Yeah,
I go through that bag quick, man.
So you need to convince people to buy 6 months worth, right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
We'll
mean,
do it in the
that's we, we
videos.
we we give the best deal for the bigger order, so
Yeah.
we volume discounts.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
and
guess
the
Costco model, whatever you want to call it.
and if being honest here, and if you were to take a guess, what would you say they lose in terms of value, or not value, but taste over that 6 month opposed to 3 month period? Is there anything lost? Because you said fresher is better, right?
Yeah, I would say like it for me, like I'm drinking bags that are, because obviously I have a lot of coffee at my house. So, I'm
Mhm.
always testing different things, bags that are instantly fresh, bags are a little bit older, and there's not much of a difference at all.
Can you notice a difference at all?
I personally don't.
Okay,
Unless it's like over a year, then I'm like, okay, I
there
can.
you go. All right, everybody. So you need to buy more, larger quantities. You get a better discount,
Our
right?
affiliate links under here, guys, for Chris
That's
and Dan
right.
show. You're helping support us
Yep. Save
and
more
Dr.
money that
Charles.
way.
And save more money. Chris, you're such a good businessman, man. Why buy one bag when you can buy 10?
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least six. At
At
least
least
six.
six. At least six. Dr. Charles, when you go to like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, I mean, not to dunk on these other brands, but Starbucks has done a lot for this industry, whether you love them or hate them.
I agree.
What do you think when you drink one of those things? Like, or do you?
I do. It's one. It's just I'm always like just checking out the competition, checking out like what's new and upcoming. I mean, Starbucks is a leader in that, and Dunkin' is right behind them, right? Uh, yeah. I mean, they've done a lot of great things. I've read some of Howard's books. Absolutely enamored by you know all that he's
Mr.
done.
Schultz? Mr.
Yeah,
Schultz?
all that he has done for this industry is insane.
Why haven't they done a health like microbiome? Is it because it's too deep into the science or
I
like
think
what?
it's too nichey, too much of a niche. They're focused on broad appeal, mass appeal.
And
Uh,
if they're charging $5 for a cup of black coffee, they'd have to charge $20 for that.
yeah, I'm sure they have their formulas and systems for
There'd be a
marketing.
market for a $20 like Beverly Hills, Brentwood. I mean, there's plenty of shops that would
Maybe.
support that.
So I mean, yeah. So
Huh.
we plan on pushing retail, like doing coffee shops. That's like one of our end stages.
That
We
was
want.
gonna be my next question. Like, would you ever be in Sprouts, Whole Foods, something like that?
It's in the works. Yeah, we have so much room to grow online still. So
Yeah.
we're trying to stay focused. Then definitely we'll do retail and then do coffee shops as a plan.
What about
And
Amazon? Like, sorry, Chris, but
Yeah, we're on Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon, is that like a good business model for you? Or you obviously prefer from your own website, right?
Yeah, but you can't ignore Amazon. I mean,
Mhm.
it's the biggest buyer engine in the world.
Is that more for a discovery tool, or you actually like can make some money off of that
Oh,
too?
you can make money on it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we do the Amazon game. Um, we're on Walmart as well, but it's not nearly as good as Amazon.
yeah, because people go to Walmart to save money.
Something
Yeah,
tells me this is
totally
not
different
gonna work
audience.
well at Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good message market match. Comes to
And
that.
in Washington State, which I grew up in, and where the home of Starbucks, they have these little barista shops, and I mean they're literally everywhere. Like you could probably find one in a fairly small city every couple miles, right, on main roads. They're more prevalent than Starbucks, and they're these little like barista shops, right, where they're like in a little shack.
Okay.
Do they have that in Indianapolis, something like that, where it's not a Starbucks, it's a drive-through thing.
I know
You're
what you're
talking about
talking
the
about.
ones with the girls with the bikinis?
Yeah, they have some of those, but some of those are it's not like that, right? It's
Uh,
just they're just coffee shops. But yeah, that's an attraction too. Um, they
huh.
they actually had
You don't say.
they actually had a chain of those. There was like maybe 50 of them in Western Washington, which we were describing. I can't remember what they were called, but yeah, maybe you might hit up a place like that,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
chain of those, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. We that's something that actually Maggie and our who's my ambassador of health coordinator and my wholesale director is looking into as well. Is doing just like that. The
Those,
small local
those
coffee
little
shops,
barista shops.
barista shops.
Yeah, maybe start your own chain. Get it exclusively here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely in the.
Oh,
So it's just the logistics of it right now.
yep. There you go.
We're a
Yeah, I
pretty
think
lean team, so it's like we gotta.
the market for that has to make sense because this is like premium. This screams premium. I think our audience, like in clinical research, can afford it. Most of them, like, and they drink coffee damn near every day to fuel their activities. If this were to work in a shop, I mean, it'd have to be like in a high rent district and high salary for the baristas and all that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think there's a way to do it though.
Right.
Um, I'm in the middle of writing a book on different therapeutic areas and just like a beginner's guide to different stuff. But there has to be more love given to caffeine. This molecule behind me. Let's think about it for a second. This molecule behind me, which is caffeine, it's probably played a huge part in like so many of our innovations as a society that we don't even realize. I mean, how do people stay up all night and make cool products or invent new shit? Like somebody's drinking coffee. I guarantee you that.
You are correct.
We need a book like The History of Caffeine or The History of Coffee.
There was a YouTube video that was very, very well done on that. The history of caffeine. I can't remember who did it. It was a company that they would go through like different types of food and the history of it, and they did coffee, and it was like they went all the way back to like King Louis and how he banned it. Like anybody,
Louis banned it.
it was one of those kings over there in either France or England. They just for some reason thought that that's where all the conspirators would gather, would be the coffee house.
I mean, it makes sense.
And try to take over the monarchy.
It does activate neuronal circuits, like for sure. I know when I'm groggy in the morning, I'll drink a cold brew, and then I'll like suddenly start getting this flight of ideas, like, oh, I can do a video on this, or I should go down this route. If it wasn't for the caffeine, I don't know if that stuff would ever really surface as easily. So caffeine is. I give a lot of credit to caffeine for my own success.
Yeah, no, me too. Now that was one of the reasons why I fell in love. It just when it hits you, because all of a sudden you're like, 5 times faster, just in your thoughts, in your movement, like going. You get so much more done, and as long as you can focus it, sometimes you get erratic.
That is my problem. That's my problem. But I found that L-theanine helps calm that down.
Yeah.
When I mix it, and Dr. Joe taught me some new hacks, like sprinkle some NMN powder in it and some L-theanine powder in it to prevent the jitters. And it's almost like night and day, Chris. I started doing memes since I ended up in YouTube jail. I'm almost out. 1 more week. Long story. I'm on my second of 3 strikes, so 1 more strike, and I mean, I'm no Valley to you as an affiliate, maybe on the podcast, but I won't get that strike. I went back and pruned a bunch of videos, but point is, I was in this YouTube jail for 2 weeks, and one of my buddies, Brad, Chris knows him too, Brad Hightower, he's like a big LinkedIn influencer, and he's like, man, you should look into memes. I think you would do good. So he taught me how to make it. So then I noticed, like, when I try to make a meme and I haven't had my coffee, I look at the image and I'm like, I can't find like how it's going to apply to clinical research. Like it doesn't come to me. But when I drink like 1 or 2 glasses of cold brew, boom, I start doing like 5 memes in a row. Like this one, I got this one is going to be this, and they hit. When I put them on LinkedIn, they hit. People even ask me, how do you make these memes? I say a lot of coffee.
The meme world.
It's the new form of communication. But Chris is a new coffee drinker. What have been your experiences so far, Chris? I'm curious. Like, we're going to convert you now to Life Boost as an affiliate, but what do you think?
So I used to absolutely hate coffee. Like it was one of the worst things. I pretty much can eat anything. There's only a few things that I can think of I don't like, and I refuse to eat. And coffee was one of those items. Just did not like it. It was too bitter. Then I've always drank Diet Coke, right? That's where my caffeine came from. Drank a lot of Diet Coke, as much as a case a day. On average, somewhere between 6 and 12 a day, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah, because I needed all the caffeine, right? Because like what, 4 or 5 cans of Diet Cokes comparable to 1 cup of coffee, something like that. So I didn't know it at the time, but I was trying to drink my 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, right? Through Diet Coke. So, and Diet Coke still to this day tastes way better than coffee. But
you haven't tried Life Boost yet, man.
Sure, I'm drinking Folgers, as we discussed already. But You know, it's not as bad as it used to be. I still don't necessarily like it. I just don't dislike it. I've been drinking it for I think a little under 4 or 5 months now, somewhere in that realm, 4 to 5 months. And again, even at the start of that, because I was getting caffeine headaches from quitting Diet Coke.
Oh yeah.
So my wife's just like, here, have because she make coffee every morning. It smells good, just doesn't taste good. It's like, all right, so I don't have the caffeine headache. I'll drink a cup, and it was nasty. But I found after about a week of that, it's starting to not taste as bad. And it's about where I'm at still to this day. She's like, add cream, add sugar, it'll be better. It's like, well, why should I need to do that? Just drink it black.
Dr.
So I need
Charles,
something that tastes good black.
Dr. Charles,
cool.
Chris is like on the cusp of being a convert and he just needs a good coffee, good tasting coffee that's not Folgers to get him over the edge. With this, Chris, you don't need sugar, cream, anything, man. I don't know if you drink cold. I feel like you prefer hot.
Well, that's what I have. Well, I take that back. I was gonna say I've never had it cold, but I did. One day when I was kind of tired, I stopped and got a cold brew Starbucks from like an AM PM or something. That didn't taste too good either. It's the only time I've had Starbucks was that way. I've never had it like through the drive-thru or anything. So I don't know what a good coffee supposedly tastes like. Everybody I talked to, even Dan included, says Starbucks isn't all that great.
No. I mean,
they have what they call their signature, right? So typically, they over roasted beans, I guess, and it creates a signature flavor, and that's what they're known for. And so what happens, people get adjusted to that, and then if you haven't had that, you're like, this is way too
not good,
bitter. But you get used to it, then that's like in your drink. Because I mean, all these Starbucks starter people go in there like daily to get their caffeine, right? And so they would get hooked on that signature flavor. And so it's different than
the drive-through is insane at these places.
Oh
I mean,
gosh.
The only things I like there, I mean, first of all, we can talk about the insane amount of sugar they put in most of their drinks that like most people like these frappuccinos. That's not really coffee. All right. I mean,
it's more like a shake or something, right?
Yeah, people say, "Oh, I drink coffee." Well, what do you like? Frappuccino. That's not coffee. You're drinking like ice cream, basically. What I liked from there is their cold brew is good. Their nitro cold brew and their pistachio cream cold brew. But even that pistachio cream, they put sugar in it and put milk. I like from Dr. Charles's Life Boost. I mean, you drink this like straight up, just cold brew with nothing in it, just maybe a nitro top for like that foamy top. That's all you need, man. That's like I don't go to Starbucks anymore.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a different, ours is we focus more on low acid, more of a smoother single origin, which is like a lot of coffee. When you see blend on a bag, it means they're blending different types of beans. And what happens is that can lead to cross contamination because they'll take like a good bean. So let's say like you'll see this a lot. Kona blend. Kona is like sells for over $50 a pound in the US. And what they'll do is they'll blend those with some really cheap beans. And that way they can use the Kona name. With that comes, an inferior coffee because, you're not
charlatans.
And
charlatans.
So yeah, I mean, but you get the cross contamination from different beans from different places. So we focus on single origin and coffee from a single, farm or a state or co-op or where we try to control that as much as possible to make sure that we're giving you the best of the best that we can find that's not cross contaminated. So
what about the microbiome thing, like the one I'm drinking, right? What is the actual name of this? Life Boost, what is it?
It's Biotics Brew.
Biotics Brew.
Yeah, like probiotic.
So yeah. And what's the how do you guys ensure, or like what's the science kind of behind that formula, maybe?
So it came from when I in the supplement company, we had this incredible probiotic that it's got some, I think, patent on it or something of the way it was created that makes it super absorbable by the body. And so we took that and we sprayed it on the beans. And so it's our dark roast bean, but it's covered in the probiotics. And then after that, we've actually like, made the coffee because you can only cold brew it. So we'll cold brew the coffee and like spread it on a petri dish with some of the bacterial, whatever you want to call it, substrate, agar. I can't remember the exact term, but then we would basically grow bacteria to show that there was bacteria in the coffee, right? That's really big. I know, and that in the supplement industry gets a bad name because a lot of people fairy dust and
so the beans
doses, yeah.
So the beans actually absorb that spray that you put on it, and you're proving that through the petri dish and the growth.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, it's going to be, a probiotic coffee. It should be able to grow bacteria because that's what
exactly
probiotic is, right?
Yep.
It makes sense. There's a particular Dr. Hazen who's been on all of our shows before, GI specialist, microbiome specialist. She actually analyzed my microbiome when I got COVID. I was lacking in bifidobacteria, which is what you actually need more of. So it'd be interesting to do like some studies on this and like maybe tweak the formula over time based on doing some trials. It just kind of costs a lot, but we can talk to Dr. Hazen about seeing, like what long-term use, maybe 3 months of drinking the biotic brew, what it does to your bifidobacteria.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So what are the benefits, as far as in terms of drinking your coffee? I know you said it helps the liver.
Oh my gosh, it seems like everybody. I mean, there's been tons of research coming out from brain health, helping with Alzheimer's prevention.
I don't mean to keep interrupting, but the brain health part of it, to my understanding, caffeine alone is beneficial to that, right? It has something to do with preventing Alzheimer's to a degree. And most CNS disorders brain wise, right? Caffeine has something to do with preventing to a degree, at least to my understanding.
Yeah, I would definitely say that caffeine is a major ingredient. So here's the way that I guess the best way to explain it. All coffee has health benefits, right?
Right.
All coffee, if it's heavily sprayed by toxins, obviously has toxins.
Has some toxins.
So even though like it's good for you, there's also a bad component to that. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like trying to get rid of those bad components. So we're what we call in the healthy coffee niche. So what is the definition of healthy coffee? So when I'm thinking about that, it's like the definition of healthy coffee is anything that you can do to get rid of things inside of the coffee that is shown by science to have detrimental effects. I think, and so that's my focus, right? So acrylamides, we test for those. We test for glyphosate. We test for 450 other toxins. We test for bacteria, molds, heavy metals. There's a whole laundry list of stuff we test for, but it's like death by 1,000 cuts. I'm trying to eliminate each one of those cuts as much as possible. So that way you're getting more of the health benefits of coffee without the jitters, without some of the side effects. And it's one of those things like if you have a regular coffee every once in a while or 2 or 3, perfectly fine. But it's that accumulation over time, that bioaccumulative effect that can come back to haunt you later in life. So my whole thing is like eliminate as much of those on the front end so you're not paying for them with insurance on the back end, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's like a lot of those toxins. I mean, yeah, caffeine itself from farm to cup is great for you if you don't mix it with sugars and cream and all that stuff. But these toxins kind of negate those effects and actually could make it bad for you if it's like depending on the quality. Cough, Folgers. That's the way I see it.
So you can apply this to anything like vegetables. Obviously tons of health benefits to vegetables, but what they don't talk about is like the oxalates, the lectins, the phytates, all these anti-nutrients that are in the plants to protect them from getting eaten, that you're ingesting an enormous amount of, which can add up over time and cause detrimental effects when you think you're eating something that's good. And on top of that, if it's not organic, it's also being sprayed with all the pesticides and all that, right? So things that are good for you could not necessarily be as good as you think they are, because there's some bad things in it. So it's just, one, being aware of that, and two, figuring out what you can do to start pulling out the negative aspects of that to only get the positive.
Yeah,
Now-
not to go off on a tangent here, but Dan and I have spoke of this before. I don't know while being recorded, but back at the start of man, supposedly they lived much longer without all of the medical benefits we have today, and a lot of speculation goes into that. The nutrients of the ground, the lack of pesticides, and all of this plays a role in that. So yeah, I highly agree with what you're saying there. You want to eliminate as much as possible.
Dr.
Yeah.
Charles,
Yeah.
what did you do to impress Dr. Joe so much? Like, how did you guys even meet? He didn't tell me anything. He just gave me the bag and said, "This guy's great. You need to meet him."
I'm trying to, he messaged me a while ago, and just telling me he was a doctor and was really into I think he was toxicology, if I'm correct. Or he written some stuff in some toxicological handbook. He was telling me about that, and I got fascinated with it. So I messaged him back. What I do is, all of my customer support tickets I have forwarded into my personal email account, just so I can look for patterns of disruptions, areas of inefficiency, seeing what everybody's saying, if there's any problems that we need to address that I can catch, and I'll answer, I'll see certain things that come in every day, and then I'll usually answer a few people, and he was one of the people I answered. I was like, oh, this is fascinating. So then we hit it off, and he would message me, or if he needed anything or had any questions, and yeah, we just stayed in contact.
Yeah, he came in the office the other day, and I put in order for 6 bags of cold brew, the biotic brew, and some of the other staff members put in their orders as well. So, he's going to work. He's going to work for you, and I mean, Dr. Joe's not easily impressed. That's the thing that kind of struck me, is if this guy recommends, first of all, he knows way more science than I do. And if he recommends this, then definitely something I need to try. And when I tried it, I was like, this shit tastes really good too.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys supporting us. It means a lot.
We got to get Chris to try it live, once he gets his box or whatever. So we're gonna fill out that. We're gonna fill out that affiliate link, start selling it on the Chris and Dan show. We'll do it. We'll do another episode on my channel, the Clinical Trials Guru, get you open to a whole new audience of clinical researchers. And put the link there. That should be interesting. All these CRAs and site owners, PIs using caffeine to stay awake and do their jobs. You guys are heroes, and you need to treat your body right. But we'll save that. We'll save that spiel for that show. Chris, anything else?
No, I mean, I'm very, very glad to have met Dr. Charles. Very interesting information. Look forward to trying the cold brew.
Okay, but cold brew, we didn't even talk about the other ones. What is the other ones you have?
Is there other ones? You have hot coffee?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different coffees. So we have flavor coffees, and we do those differently as well. We don't typically, they use propylene glycol to make the bean sticky in order for the flavors to stick on it. So I did not like that. I don't want to put antifreeze in my body. So I,
you McDonald's French fries?
No,
What's wrong with antifreeze?
Tons of antifreeze on those.
I know. I avoid those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's whatever, they made it into the grass category, and try to put it in a bunch of different foods. So
yep,
I try not to eat those foods. But like I said, it's like a death by 1,000 cuts. It's one little thing I can eliminate, I try to eliminate it. So we replace it with ethanol, which evaporates, right? It's alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And so the flavor coffee is made with that, and we only use natural flavors and extracts. So more, think of it more like an almond extract that you would use for baking versus, you know, the more artificial stuff. So that's how we flavor the beans. So and we don't overdo it. So it's just like enough of the flavor to get the taste without being too overpowering. It's a balance. It's one of those fine lines that sometimes we're a little bit over, sometimes we're a little bit under, but you know, we try to be right on. So we have those. And you can cold brew any of those. So like I'll do a lot of cold because I'm always testing different flavors, and so I cold brew a lot of flavors. We have light, medium, dark roast. Each one tastes a little bit different. Light's a little more fruity. The dark's a little more caramely, chocolatey. Probably more like the Folgers you're drinking. And then, like, I mean, we're coming out with all kinds of things like to put in my whole thing is like, what else? Coffee is such a good medium to drink that you can infuse it with other nutrients. So now you're starting to see mushroom coffees come out, right?
Yeah.
That's like super popular. And
Well, also even more interesting lately, like when Dr. Joe told me about sprinkling NMN powder and L-theanine powder into the coffee, I'm like, that makes sense. It becomes a delivery vehicle for other nutrients at that point.
yeah, it's
So
exactly right. Yeah.
So the process of creating coffee and then turning it into a drinkable source, this doesn't kill any of these nutrients, right? Like the heat or anything?
No.
No?
Yeah. So like the things that were like some of the coffee, what we call health boosters that we sell or will be selling, they're heat stable. We make sure to check for that. And you can also do it cold too. Like, so it's good for either. So,
Yeah, so what I was thinking at the beginning, that the cold brew would seem to make more sense just because it wouldn't run the risk of killing through the brewing process.
Right.
But the brewing process might, I know some nutrients are killed through the heating process.
Right.
So all right, but these are all heat stable, as you said.
Yeah. So we check for that for sure. And so like right now, like every morning, my current stack of what I do with my coffee is I'll cold brew a coffee. I will put collagen in it, like multi-collagen peptides, so they dissolve easily. I'll put MCT oil, C8, not the regular, the C8, which is the version that's best for the brain. And as you know, C8 or MCT oil in general, since being medium chain, instant energy boost because it goes straight to your liver breaks it down quickly, boom, energy. So it's like not only you're getting energy from the caffeine, you're getting the boost from the MCT oil. I like my coffee more creamy, so I don't drink it black. So it's literally like this superfood shake, and then I'll put a couple drops of D3 MK7 into it because I found that, and we'll be coming out with our own version of that too.
Okay.
We have
what was it? DK?
vitamin D3
Oh,
mixed with vitamin K, but we use the MK7 version, which is like,
MK7.
which is one of the best versions of vitamin K.
I see.
So I put that in it, and then we have a product now called Everlow Coffee Drops, and it is like electrolyte trace mineral drops, and like 8 drops in the coffee. Like any coffee, it doesn't matter if it's Life Boost or not, it cuts bitterness and smooths out the curve. And
There you go, Chris.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, and since coffee is caffeine is a diuretic in general, right? This adds your electrolytes back in, some of your minerals back in. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee, it's going to be pulling minerals out of your body. So it's one of those things where it's good to add those back in. And this is just an easy way to do it. You put the drops in the coffee, and then I'll blend it together and throw it in my cup, and then I'll add heavy whipping cream, organic heavy whipping cream.
Okay.
One, cold brew butter does not work. 2, heavy whipping cream has more immune properties because of the milk fat globule membrane that's around it, as well as it doesn't raise your cholesterol like butter does.
Heavy whipping cream.
Organic heavy whipping cream, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just went to the Amish farm and bought raw heavy whipping cream.
Man, those Amish, those Mennonites, those guys, they're on their shit. You know, they know. Those guys know this stuff. I just bought a storage unit here from the Mennonites, handmade wood.
They're quality all around,
Yeah,
man.
they are, man. We need some Mennonites on this show, but they don't use Zoom.
No.
We got we gotta get them in person. I'm gonna go out there to the Mennonites. They're like 20 minutes north of me, east of me, here in Arizona. But man, Dr. Charles, I feel like you nerd out on this stuff a lot.
I do. I'm a biohacker, I guess. By
What do you
just
read? Like, what are your, like, where do you satisfy your nerd cravings for this?
oh man. I mean, anywhere from, you know, I read a lot of different things online. I've got friends in the industry, a couple formulator friends of mine who formulate for like some of the top dogs, like who know a lot of the science. They'll introduce me to new ingredients and things I should be looking at and testing.
Mm.
I mean, podcasts, Dave Osprey or Huberman or
I got
any.
his new book, Dave Astor. I haven't listened to it yet, but he has a new one.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't got it yet. I've got all his other ones.
Huberman's cool. I listen to him now.
Yeah, he's got a good segment on caffeine. It's really good.
Yeah, I've been into the Science Mag, Nature Mag lately. I realized that with my .edu email account I still have from back in the day, I get free access to a lot of those things. So I'm
That's
like, all
awesome.
right. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Scientific American. That's one of them. That's like it's an app on your phone that
Yeah.
pumps out new issues every month. Occasionally they have things on caffeine. Dr. Charles, oh, one more thing before we shift gears. Deuterium. Chris, I love making connections, man. Victor, you remember our last guest, Victor, with the
hmm
water?
hmm
So he's got the water that eliminates um heavy metals and all that stuff. So if we could combine that with, I haven't done it yet because I haven't bought a pack of Victor's water. We've been meaning to get him on again with Dr. Joe because we want to introduce him to Dr. Joe, and then we can have Dr. Charles on. Imagine that podcast and what like waves that will create because you've got this coffee synthesized like with care and with like academic based like literature with water, deuterium depleted water.
hmm
Combine the two because we're drinking all this shit. Like you can make it all fancy and like have all the science behind it, but then what kind of water are you using? I mean, it's a whole nother issue. Think
You're
about
opening
it,
up a can
man.
of worms.
Right.
Well, we
I
should
use like
open up a store is what we should do and have deuterium depleted water. We should have probiotic coffee or the other one and just serve people like here, this $15 for this cup of coffee, but it's gonna last you the whole day and you're gonna come back tomorrow, I guarantee it.
that's amazing. Yeah. Does he have does he sell it by the bottle or does he have like a maker that you can put in your house?
He sells cases. So Dr. Joe has cases, not from that guy, but from a competitor. They're basically the same thing.
Okay.
We are supposed to have Dr. Joe's contact on the show, but I actually like our contact better.
Yeah,
He's
Victor's
more like down to
quite
earth.
interesting.
The other dude's kind of a conspiracy nut. Like, I don't know, you gotta like have time to talk to him. Victor,
Yeah.
he's more chill, he's the
Got
surfer
it.
dude from Lake Tahoe, California that moved to Lake Tahoe. We gotta set that up, Chris. Let's do this, man. Dr. Joe, Dr. Charles, Victor, and me and you, man.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
And we make something happen. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll do it live on the show. Get deuterium depleted water in my cold brew. Maybe I'll end up living to like 200 years old. I'll be podcasting till 2200.
Would you
But
want to live
anyways,
to 200 though?
I would. Yeah, if I could have
All
quality
right.
of life, sure. Why not?
All right.
I'll
Fair
be
enough.
part of the AI's ecosystem at that point. Like,
Right.
let me do what you want me to do, masters. Uh, Dr. Charles, what kind of music do you like?
Oh man, I have a very wide spread. Like some of my favorites, I love Dave Matthews Band. I love like Chris Stapleton, huge fan of his. Kings of Leon.
Okay.
Yeah, like very, very wide.
What
How do you know I haven't? How do you know I haven't heard it?
Chris has not heard this. I know you too well, man. I will bet money on this. You know how like when you go into like a situation where you have to gamble on like sports or something that takes some kind of skill. I mean, I would gamble that you haven't heard this.
All right. I'm not.
Like
I'm
Dr.
not.
Dre, Kush featuring Snoop and Akon, great song. Dr. Livingston.
I
That's
told you,
great.
I'm all over the board. I appreciate country. I appreciate rock.
Dr. Charles Livingston. This was amazing. Chris, what do you think, man?
Well, a few thoughts. So definitely catchy. But
Dr. Dre's
as-
catchy.
But as far as I can tell, this song is about marijuana, but I see no marijuana, right?
Well, you
Yeah,
saw
you're right.
Stroke, so it's probably alluding to that. So at that time when it was created, I don't know if it was like legal and all
Acceptable.
they were doing.
Probably came out in what, the early 2000s or something like that.
Yeah,
Well, like legal like 2017, 2018, but this was like 2008, 2009 song, I think.
Right. So Kush, I believe, is another term for marijuana, right?
oh yeah.
And then inhale, exhale, obviously the chorus.
And Akon said you can get that good shit, but you don't need to go to Jamaica. You just get it right here in LA. But now
Yeah.
you actually can in the stores. Snoop Dogg actually owns a bunch of these brands, cannabis related brands, and doing really well.
So in the theme of the song, Dr. Charles, which do you drink? Do you drink alcohol at all?
A little bit, maybe
Little
like
bit socially.
one or two a week usually. Not
Okay.
like tequila.
And now I'm gonna really put you on the spot. Do you smoke marijuana? I'll take that as a yes.
If I'm gonna stick where it is legal, yes.
Okay. So which would you say are more harmful to you? Alcohol or marijuana?
100% alcohol.
More harmful?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Humorman says the same thing. Marijuana could be harmful if you have inherent or dormant psychoactive disorders, which in my family we do have like schizophrenia in my family, so I stay away from smoking. I drink much more than I'd like to, at least lately. That's very bad for you. Drinking alcohol is like one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah. That's why I'm I don't mix sugar with alcohol. I've actually got into sipping tequilas, like the high end tequilas that you can sip. And like max would be 2 drinks a night typically. And I only
sipping
do that,
tequila is
1 or 2 times
underrated.
a week. Yeah. Oh, it's the new bourbon.
Have you tried mezcal? Just sipping mezcal?
I don't like the smokiness of mezcal.
Okay. I like it. I like that.
So why eliminate sugar from alcohol?
It just amplifies the negative effects. So,
like hangovers and things.
Yeah, there's definitely something with mixing different. Like you shouldn't mix like your proteins and fats and carbs versus like it's much better for you if you like eat like protein and fat and then carbs.
It's the same reason why you want to mix butter with coffee. It's amplifies the good effects into your liver. If you mix coffee with alcohol with carbs, it basically absorbs in the liver, and it also helps absorb more alcohol in there too.
Yeah.
So wait, you're killing it for me. The only kind of alcohol I like consuming is, the female drinks that have a lot of sugar in them.
Oh yeah, Chris loves those girly drinks. Those are bad for you, man. Very bad for you.
And once in a while, it's okay because you've also got the hermetic response, right?
Live a little, man. Compared to that Folgers, it's probably good for you.
Ah, fair enough.
Dr. Charles, where can people find you, or do you not want them to find you?
I mean, you can lifeboostcoffee.com. You can email Dr. C or DRC at lifeboostcoffee.com. That goes to me.
Okay. And if you guys are interested, check out the link underneath for access to the coffee. Chris and I'm sold. Chris has to drink it first before he gets sold on it.
we'll make sure you're
We'll
taken.
do. That sounds awesome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charles, and also Maggie
Absolutely.
for setting this
All right, guys.
up.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been a lot of fun.
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Hey,